Welcome to the Compliance Perspectives Podcast. I'm Adam Turtletop from the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics and Healthcare Compliance Association. Joining us today from the New York area is Michael Savicki. Michael is Senior Vice President and Chief Risk and Compliance Officer at Amex Global Business Travel, best known as Amex GBT. And today we're going to be talking about due diligence, mergers, and acquisitions. Michael, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and congratulations. You recently completed a very large merger deal. I really appreciate your willingness to share insights from that and your career on how compliance teams can help both meet the compliance requirements and the business requirements during the time of an acquisition. First, let me ask, how should teams prepare to manage the potential compliance challenges and help make the acquisition possible while keeping the risks manageable?
Yeah, happy to do so. And first, thank you, Adam, for the opportunity. I'm a big fan of the show and appreciate you taking the time to provide a platform like this for compliance and legal professionals to understand and learn from each other and share best practices. I think in terms of your question, when you're preparing for a transformational deal like this, the first step is always robust due diligence. Really digging in, understanding the existing risks and where controls need to be strengthened. We have a long history of value add acquisitions here at Amex GBT, and an effective playbook in identifying and managing those risks through the due diligence process. We have a unique background and relationship with American Express. We have a series of heightened regulatory obligations due to that relationship. So when we acquire entities in the corporate travel, meeting and events, expense management space, there's typically a compliance enhancement process that we need to go through during integration. That enhancement process focuses on providing value to both our new colleagues and new clients and customers and meeting the brand promise that they've come to expect. While we have strong internal expertise across our legal, risk, and regulatory compliance spectrum, we also utilize, like many other companies, highly effective external advisors to ensure that there's no stone left unturned during that due diligence process. During our recent merger, we went through a lengthy regulatory review, which was certainly publicized. And while that can seem like a challenge, we sought to use that time very wisely. We got clarity on the kind of future state compliance framework and program we wanted to build post-close. And in many ways, it left us stronger and better prepared for a seamless integration. Another big factor, and I think is very important to underscore, is the ability to work through a cross-functional partnership in a kind of global matrix organization such as ourselves. Compliance can't be effective if it operates in a silo, and we are incredibly fortunate to have a very strong leadership team and C-suite that understands the value of an effective risk and compliance program. We work very closely with our product and tech teammates to put together compliance controls right into our existing tools and platform. Things like compliance by design, embedding sanctions, privacy controls right into our technology solutions. We partner with finance and our commercial teams to ensure that we're using AI and automation for any low-level, time-consuming tasks, and really tapping into real-time reporting for greater analytics and insights to identify emerging risks. Marrying up these processes together gives us better insights, helps us stay ahead of risks, and provide, again, resiliency for our clients and key stakeholders. The final point I make on this question is, really about the mindset. We're a solution-oriented team and come to the table with a yes and approach. We want people to be looking for us to engage early, to allow us to help design and implement processes to identify risks, collaborate on solutions, and finding paths forward that will keep our residual risks low as an effective corporate compliance program. That makes compliance a real enabler of growth and a partner in making these big acquisition moves possible.
I love the fact that you're sort of walking the line with compliance as both a way to reduce risk and also as a way to enable the business. Also, there was a lot of information there, and I think the comment you made about using AI for due diligence is worth a podcast of its own at a later date. But let me go back to focusing on due diligence in a more traditional way. It's very important. It can be an enormous undertaking. It's always a bit different based on the companies involved, the laws and regulations that are in play, what kind of regulatory oversight they're under. What are the common elements, though, that you've found that make for effective due diligence?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really brings in expertise and experience. I think due diligence is all about focusing on all risks: legal, regulatory, financial, operational, reputational. I spoke in depth, during your initial question on many aspects, but from my perspective, a couple additional call outs that I'd underscore is, in addition to utilizing, highly effective external advisors, it's critical to have internal experts who are deeply embedded in the business that can identify potential risks. I'm very fortunate. We have an incredibly strong team. It's been together for a long time, so they understand the risk frameworks. And again, when you look at some of the external advice, in particular the U.S. Department of Justice guidance on effective corporate compliance programs, it highlights the industry-specific nature of designing an effective program. So you want an internal team, and you need an internal team that has a deep understanding of both business operations and activities that can amplify and expand the scope of diligence to be in a very effective manner. It's a little different lens than outside counsel, and can highlight the practical risks and necessary solutions in order to be on top of those emerging risks that I indicated. And it's a little different than your general external expertise at a generalist level. In addition, Amex GBT has been through 10 plus acquisitions since the formation of our entity, and that has given us experience and insights to design a very effective compliance playbook. It sets up for a smoother integration strategy and gives our new colleagues and customers confidence that the new combined business is going to work for them and derive greater benefits. The final point I'd make on this question is diligence can also unearth new areas of risk. So in particular, our recent acquisition is a significant U.S. government contractor, and we are eager and excited to bring on that type of new risk pillar and support our new customer segment through their military, government, and defense support to the U.S. government.
I'm sure everyone's rather jealous of the fact that you have such an experienced team. It's terrific, both that they have the experience and they also have worked together for so long and so well. But even with that, as you know, things inevitably come up as sort of surprises as the company goes through the M&A process. What are the keys for managing them?
It's a great question, and I think there are really a couple points here that I would flag. First, is moving with flexibility. Obviously, everyone, I think, is familiar with the old Mike Tyson line that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And, being adaptable to dynamic events is critical. Integration's a bit like a puzzle. Not every piece is taken apart, but all the right ones need to fit together. So making sure you have robust plans for customer support, for our employee and our new colleagues, but making sure you're also keeping adaptable to the dynamic environment, particularly given ongoing, evolving geopolitical regulatory developments. So that is crucial. In that same vein, keeping up to date with the latest regulatory guidance, in particular in all the jurisdictions where you're operating. There might be new jurisdictions that are coming into scope. That's critical. Our program at American Express Global Business Travel is built upon continual improvement principles. We do, regular enterprise risk self-assessment updates on legal, regulatory, commercial, reputational risk trends and developments, and then monitoring, obviously, geopolitical uncertainties, any regulatory issues impacting our clients. Our risk and compliance governance framework can be used to meet this dynamic, changing landscape. The other aspect that I'd really emphasize is trust and building trust. In my view, trust is the foundation of any successful relationship. So our new clients, partners, colleagues, we want to build that trust and support so they know we're going to be there throughout that acquisition process, and develop practical solutions and listen to their concerns. Our brand and reputation has been built on trust, and it goes a long way. But we have to earn it every day. And in addition, we utilize technology to provide faster services and solutions as a critical part of our value prop. Again, it's an area where being able to do more, enabling our employees to feel empowered through the use of greater technology solutions, I think provides additional support during that acquisition process.
Building that trust is also just terrific for giving people confidence in the compliance program. And I think it's fair to say, based on everything you've said, that done right, compliance, you've really shown can be a growth enabler. Would you agree?
I could not agree more, Adam. And in fact, I've sought to build my career on this. When done right, an effective risk and compliance program is a growth enabler because ultimately good governance, good compliance is good business. Early engagement and partnership can unlock growth. And clients, they want a brand they can trust. American Express Global Business Travel has proven to be invested in both our infrastructure for our clients and through our own growth. Our background as a highly regulated bank holding company provides a strong foundation to build trust, differentiate our approach, and position us with our clients to succeed. We also focus a significant amount of time on responsible innovation. We want to provide solutions and software that's proven and tested at scale. And we also understand, given our role, we are a third party to our clients. We want to be a trusted third party partner. We understand and spend a significant amount of our risk and compliance framework on third party oversight. So we want to give the comfort and confidence to our clients, both large global multinationals and smaller startups, that we have their back. We'll be there for them as a leading software and service provider in the meetings and events, business travel, and expense management space. And I truly believe compliance leaders serve as that bridge, that second line of defense, supporting management's growth strategies, designing effective risk mitigation programs, and reinforcing brand trust and credibility to drive growth.
It's been great hearing all the things that your team's done, and it makes me want to know, what do you see for the future? How do you see compliance evolving over the next few years?
Well, it's always dangerous to make predictions about the future. I will say this: I think it's an incredibly exciting time because technology is allowing us to do things we weren't able to do before. I mean, expertise and a deep knowledge will remain critical, but managing it and marrying it up with technology as an enabler is going to provide greater outcomes and serve really as a force multiplier for risk compliance legal professionals. Instead of waiting for quarterly or monthly roll-ups of data, we now get it in real time and we get ahead of our risk facts faster. AI is a huge part of that. It gives us sharper insights, greater data analytics, and helps spot those emerging risks much earlier in the process. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it helps our team because it frees them up to do higher quality, more strategic work, which provides for a greater engagement level amongst our team members and workforce. Again, as a third party partner, we know we're part of our client's risk picture. So we want to be able to focus on being that trusted third party. And I think that, that confidence will continue to be paramount. Looking ahead, I think everybody in compliance will need to be not only experts in legal and regulatory compliance developments, but also very data centric and AI fluent. That shift to empower people, make the work more productive, greater scope, will give the business more confidence. And that while we're certainly not perfect, continually improving and supporting that commercial growth, I think goes a long way.
Well, and to your point about being more sophisticated about data analytics, that's certainly what the DOJ's expectations are, as well as compliance embracing and having the same tools for managing the business that the rest of the business has. Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen. I'm Adam Turtletop from SCCE and HCCA. I hope we're able to expand your compliance perspective.